So the audiobook version of The Mechanic comes out today, and it feels like a good moment to talk about the book and to talk about why I wrote it, how I wrote it, and why I think that everybody has some kind of book in them. Look at that, I mean, smart thinking. I cannot tell you how proud it is a feeling to see your own book on a shelf in a branch of Waterstones. It's an amazing feeling. Don't know who that guy is. So, first of all, how did I write it? Well, it's not easy. It took a lot of hard work, a lot of very late nights and very early mornings sat at the computer when no one else is around. It's a lonely process. You know, not rewarding whilst you're doing it. The reward, of course, comes now, as I say. Why did I write it? Well, a couple of reasons. One was that I think Formula One is this, you know, very impressive, very sort of enigmatic, secretive, sort of aspirational world, I suppose, which I've been very lucky to be part of for such a long time. And, you know, lots of the secrecy behind Formula One isn't necessarily justified. So there are lots of things that I know that people who watch Formula One, fans of the sport, would love to know and hear and read about that aren't necessarily in any way secretive or that would compromise the teams or the people running the sport behind it. So that was one reason that I knew I had some stories that I thought Formula One fans would appreciate hearing. And the other reason is that I've had this amazing life and this amazing career, and at some point in the future, maybe not too far in the future, I will start to forget stuff. And so to have a written record of all of that just felt like an amazing opportunity that I couldn't pass up for me and for my children, and something that will be there now in print forever. The thing is, I know that with social media nowadays, we have a record. Shush, Wilson. We have a record of many of the things we do in our lives through photographs that will always be on our social media. That's great. But one of the things that one of the things we rarely have is a record of how those pictures or how those moments made us feel at the time, because we take the picture, you know, we don't necessarily write or talk about how we were feeling at the time. So that is where a book is brilliant. And that's why I think everyone has a book in them. You know, so many people have come up to me since my book was published, saying, do you know what, I think I've got a book in me. Is this making you feel sick? It's making me feel sick. Saying, look, I think I've got a book in me, you know, but I'm just trying to find the time or the motivation to get on with it. And it's such a common story. It's the story that I had before I actually got on and did my own. So one of the things that struck me was that, you know, if you go to a dinner party or out for drinks with your mates, you know, you've always got stuff to talk about. You've always got those stories that you pull out in those situations, you know, that you think impress people, or that are great memories for you, great moments that you've been involved in, funny moments. Everybody's got those. So why not write them down? Make sure they live forever once you've forgotten about them. And if they're good enough to share at a dinner party or in a bar with your mates, perhaps they're good enough to share with anybody. And don't do it because you want to make some money out of it. Do it because it's a great record of your life. Do it because your stories might convince people or help people or encourage people to do the things that you've done in your life. Maybe do it to help people not to do the things that you've done in your life. You know, help people not to make the same mistakes as you. Do it because you're passionate about something, because you believe in something, or you want to inspire people. I'm off to meet a young man now who I'm going to join him for lunch. He's an engineering student who is just questioning whether he wants to stay involved in engineering and whether he really wants to follow that dream of getting involved in Formula One. And his parents have asked me if I'll go and have a chat with him and just share some stories and give him an insight as to what life is like. So I'm on my way to go and do that. And when I do go and meet him, I'm also going to give him one of my books, because that's exactly what I hope that is, an inspiring story that will help people to chase their sort of dream and follow their dreams, whether it's in Formula One or anything else. So I've just met this young engineering student, Seb, for lunch at the pub. And, you know, I love doing stuff like this. If I can ever help people get into Formula One or get into motorsport, I 100% will, because, you know, this guy is a young university student who reminds me of me so much. He's only 19 years old, but he knows already 100% he wants to be in Formula One, and he will do anything to get there. And just having met him today and chatted to him for, you know, half an hour, 45 minutes, I'm pretty sure he'll get there. You know, he's one of those guys. He's got everything he needs and everything that a Formula One team wants to see. The passion for it, which is the biggest thing. The biggest reason to start writing, to start putting your thoughts and your stories and your ideas and your passions down on paper or down into your computer keyboard, is because you want to. You know, I guess don't really do it for anyone else's benefit, do it for your benefit. These are your stories, they're your memories, they're your ideas and things that you care about. So put it down on paper, because it'll inspire you. Sometimes it can just be a great way to get things off your chest, to write them down. If you find it hard to talk to somebody about something, write it down. Who knows, it could be the basis for a book in the future. It's also not just about being a published author. You can be an author of your own book, which can just sit on your own shelf at home. And in fact, one of the drivers for me, one of the things I really wanted to achieve out of all of this when I was doing it, was to have a copy of my own book on my own bookshelf. You know, that was a big moment for me when that first happened. I'm very fortunate, I know, that I've worked in an industry that millions of people follow and are interested in. So the idea of me getting published with my writing was obviously far easier than it would be for lots of people. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't write things down. That doesn't mean you shouldn't construct a book. You know, if you happen to manage to get that published at the end of it, then brilliant. That's an incredible thing to achieve. But just having completed the book in itself is a huge achievement just on its own. I'm just on the way to pick the little kids up from school now. I just want to wrap it up by basically saying a big thank you to anyone who has bought my book, who bought it for someone else at Christmas, or if you've read it. I really appreciate it. It's been overwhelming to see all the messages from people saying how much you've enjoyed it, how it might have inspired you to do something different, or whether it might have, you know, made you look at Formula One in a different way. That's really lovely for me to hear, because in writing the book and getting it finished, it ticked, you know, more than one box for me. Obviously, it's an enormous sense of pride and well-being having finished the book, something I said I would do for years, and yet for years never got round to doing. And I know lots of people are in the same boat. So great that I finally managed to achieve that. I'm proud of myself for doing it. But secondly, that in some small way, that book has enriched the lives of lots of different people in lots of different ways, even if only in a tiny little way. And I guess what I'm trying to say through all of this is that because I do honestly believe everybody has some way of enriching other people's lives, they have some message or something to share, something to be passionate about, and that's why everyone's got a book in them. So perhaps this video, apart from being a shameless plug to go and purchase the audiobook that's released today, or if you haven't got the book yet, please go and buy it, that would be great. Apart from that, it's really, I hope, to be a little bit of an inspiration, because if I can write a book, you know, and I am not a writer by trade, if I can write a book, so can you.